winter's night felt the heat of a summer day. Down by the river where both frogs sang a piece. Crumbling towers dance slowly through the mist, the cool waterway. Outside the sound of locusts never ceased, never ceased. By the falls met a dusty queen in a gown of cream and silk. How quietly her tears fell as if in a dream. On the ground her dead knight lay, his blood like milk. Opened her mouth but could not find a voice to scream. Voice to scream.
Now, for most of you guys, this should all be familiar. This, you know, either you learned it last year or you learned 2 years ago. But down here in the chat, let me pull up my chat. Who can tell me how to make something look closer? Draw it bigger. All right, boom. Larger it is, closer it's going to look, generally. All right. Where is that closer object located on your paper? And don't say the front, because we draw everything on the front of the paper. Think about it. As you start to point at things that are farther away, your hand does what? So where would the closer object? Right. It's going to be on the bottom of the paper. So closer objects are larger. They are on the bottom of the paper or toward the bottom of the paper. If you want to get super technical, they're farther away from the horizon line. That's where it gets a little confusing for you guys, because sometimes up in the sky, you could have, like in the upper right side of your paper, you could have a giant crow. It could be closer to the viewer, but it's still farther away from the horizon line. So there are times where you can break the space rule like that, which you're not really breaking the space rule, but this is the easy one. Anything that's larger, closer, toward the bottom. Farther objects are drawn how? How big should they be? Smaller, all right? And that's why you can crush people's heads. You can close one eye, look out over the classroom and go, I'm crushing your head, now I'm crushing your head, now I'm crushing your head. If you try to crush their head, well, first of all, you get arrested. But if you try to get your hand around their head, unless you're Andre the Giant, it's probably not going to fit, all right? I'm sure there's some basketball stars got big enough hands they could crush your head too. Okay. What line divides the land and the sky? And if you need to look out your window for a moment, look out your window. Excellent. Horizon line. All right. Anything below the horizon line is on the ground. Anything above the horizon line is in the sky. That's why, like, sometimes first year students give me a house and they'll put it up in the air because they're like, it's supposed to be far away. Well, yeah, maybe, but it's the size of a Walmart and it's floating. So they forget, you know, if it's on the horizon, it's probably barely perceptible unless it's Godzilla. All right. What divides the floor and the wall if you're doing space inside a room? It's going to be the floor line or the wall line. I know that one is really simple. All right, so if you have a floor line, I don't even think you can see the floor line. Now you can't. That's too bad. Anything above the line where the wall meets the floor, anything above that is actually on the wall. And I've seen kids draw that too, where it looks like a person's attached to a wall. Anything below it is standing on the floor, connected. So that's what you have to do if you're doing an inside drawing. And your overlapping object is always what? My hand is smaller than my face, but we know it's closer because it is overlapping in front. That I would accept that as well. All right, so there's three terms that we don't use very often. And I don't know why. I don't know why I don't bring these up more often. But there's foreground. That's the object that's closer up, close to you. Middle ground. It's in between the foreground and the background. The background is the farthest. So those are the three terms that we need to kind of remember because we should start using them. All right, so let's look at some images. In the foreground, I got the giant head of hair. All right. In the middle ground, I've got these three weird characters. The guy made of paper, the guy in the teddy boy suit from 1950s, 1960s England, and the robot. So this would be considered middle ground, foreground. This leaves our rhinos to be the background. Now, interesting cheat that I did on this one. Everything behind the paper guy, the teddy boy guy, and the robot was drawn on a separate sheet of paper. Because these are so large and they take so long to ink, I hated my background. I hated my background, so I ended up redrawing the background on a separate sheet of paper, putting it in Photoshop, cut and paste, and just made it one image. It saved me time. It looked better because it's in Photoshop. I could do this really nice gradation here, which you won't see on any of the other drawings because I didn't mess them up that bad. But that's always an option. If you have access to Photoshop or an image editing setup, don't be afraid to use it. I mean, especially if you're doing graphic work, because they're never going to see the original. They're going to be looking at a digital file. So if you had to cut and paste it from several different images at once that you've drawn, perfectly fine, perfectly okay, perfectly wonderful. All right. Forced perspective. Foreground, the guy with the knives. Middle ground, the werewolf. Background, the girl with the pistols. There is a faked point perspective in here, and it's going way off the paper to the left. All right. I'm pretty sure, I'm going to go 95% sure that I didn't even bother to draw a vanishing point, but I probably faked a vanishing point, threw down this line, this line, this line, and this line when I started. So yes, since you guys did cities last year, or you did sighting of the, oh man, my 5.6s never got to sight the hall. If you did cities or you did any kind of sighting skills, you might be to the point where you can fake perspective, but if it's something that has to be 100%, you may not want to. All right. Once again, foreground, middle ground, background. All right. Now I got about 5 people in the foreground. I got 2 people in the middle ground, and I got nothing really in the background unless you want to look out the window at the flying bear. This is, once again, an interior space. All right. Unlike the other one, I'm 99% sure that I used a ruler to establish a vanishing point over here where all these boards could go to. And then I had to fake the curve. All right. When you draw stuff like this, draw it lightly. There will be a lot of erasing before you go down with your pencils. All right. Okie dokie. There is a floor line here. It goes here. Anything above it would be on the wall. You have foreground, middle ground. Technically, the robot devil girl is the background. And considering she's one of the most important hero characters in the story, it's fun to see her like this. All right, if you want to go over the top with the idea of creating space, when you're setting your scene or you're setting up for your skeletons, do a crowd shot. All right, foreground, I got these 3 gentlemen here, very happy to be part of this celebration today. Middle ground, pretty much anybody from here to the old wise woman putting the honoring scars on our hero. He doesn't look happy about it. And then everything else becomes background. I know we haven't talked about silhouettes very often, unless you were in cartooning last year, but silhouettes are a great way to pump up the amount of people in the crowd without having to draw a million heads. All right, one of my favorite shots of the last book, the bar scene. If you want to do skeletons at a bar, fine. If you want to do humans at a bar, fine. If you wanted to propose that you do something other than humans at a bar, that's fine. Or you could do them at a Denny's. You know, monsters at a Denny's, that sounds about right. Foreground, this creepy angel and this robot elephant thing with creatures living in him. Middle ground, pretty much everybody at the bar. Our waitress is somewhere between the middle ground and the foreground. And then our background is through here. You only have to show 5 skeletons or people. You can have more if you like. You can fatten up your crowd with silhouettes. Once again, I did that here. All right, last thing I'll show you before I do a quick demo. All right, so everything above the horizon line is basically in the air. That's one thing you have to remember. Unfortunately, I have a bird's eye view of a ship that is in the air. So my horizon line becomes the wall line or the floor line on the edge of the ship. All right, that's how that functions in this instance. And if you want to do a dramatic camera shot when you're designing these things, a worm's eye or bird's eye, totally up to you. Make it interesting for yourself. You know, I know you guys are like, I just want to get it done. Yeah, you can't go through life just wanting to get stuff done. All right, that's for bills. I got to get them done. Take your meds. I got to get it done. Work out. All right, fine. Got to get it done. But if it's something that you want to show later in your life to people you care about, put a little bit of love in it, man. You know, think about taking care of a kid someday. I got to get it done. Those kids don't turn out very well. Once again, foreground, middle ground, background. That's what we're looking at. Let's talk about outside shots first. Whatever pose you're taking. All right, so maybe your person's up close. Maybe your person's turned around. He's looking at a scene. Maybe his hand is up here. Maybe that hand is a skeleton. All right, hard to tell. This is why we do our pre-sketches. All right, somewhere in the middle ground, 2 people are looking at him. Maybe one's pointing. You lied to me. You lied to me. You said you'd make healthcare better. All you wanted to do is repeal it. Yes, this person's upset too. All right. All right. So when I'm doing a pre-sketch, especially when I'm trying to convey space, it's really pretty much this sloppy because I need to figure out where the people are going to be and where the rest of it's going to be, right? So there's a mountain range. Why? Well, because I can do a mountain range easier than breathing, because I did a lot of them as a kid. And then maybe I'll have people in a canoe in the background by the water. I don't know what this fight is about. I'm just playing with ideas and shapes right now. Here's one person paddling. There's the other person paddling on the other side because you're trying to keep your canoe straight. Boom, boom. So within under, I don't know, 90 seconds, I've pre-sketched out a fight scene or an argument scene. Between 3 people and 2 observers. All right, and now there would be other things you would put in here to help show space. Maybe there's a bush, or maybe there's a giant rock over here, or things around the water. Maybe there's reeds around the water. They don't have to be well drawn. You just kind of need to think about the things you're going to have in here to make your scene interesting. All right. So that's one super sloppy pre-sketch. Now let's do an inside one. Most of you guys did the city street years ago. Either it was last, oh my God, did my 1-2s not get to the 2-point city? Oh, sweet baby Jesus. Okay. Wow, I think I just developed a headache. All right, so let's say we have a room. Now, if you were to do this with vanishing points, you're in a room, one line would go this way, one line would go this way. This line would go up here, away from that vanishing point, and here. Essentially what I've done is I have created a wall line, and the top of that wall comes from one point, the bottom of that wall comes from another point. Now, if I want to put a door on this side, boom, boom, there's a door. All right. If I wanted to put a table, my table would have to connect up to those vanishing points. All right. And then maybe I have people in a diner booth. Two people at a diner. Maybe there's a third person here. Maybe they brought their pet cat. Why you would bring a cat to Denny's, I have no idea. Maybe he's a skeleton cat. At that point, it's weird. Maybe it's a pet squirrel. All right. Why he's sitting on this plate, I don't know. And then maybe there's a waitress here. Maybe there's somebody coming in the door. All right. The only thing this doesn't account for is how much dead space you have up here. So when you're drawing these scenes, you're doing your pre-sketches, if you find yourself looking at maybe almost 40% dead space, you might want to think about getting a little closer in on your image. Maybe you just show that much of it instead of what takes up the whole paper. And then that way, when you draw it on your bigger sheet, you just draw it bigger. All right, so this is an example of a student portfolio from last year. And I'll click through her stuff real quick. This is what she was supposed to do over summer vacation. It did not get finished, but her 3 portraits did. Now, her expressive portraits were not expressive portraits per se. They were about blending skin tones, which I finally got you guys some chalks. So at some point, maybe a month or two, we'll do at least one portrait where I have you guys work on skin tones. All right. All right, so when we had a week of gesture sketches that were skeletons, so we had people pose in class, they draw up the sketch, then they put the skeleton in it. And then she started in on her diner scene for her skeletons. Did it take her a while? Yes, it did. Leslie is a wonderful artist, but she works incredibly slow. So you can see as the days went on, and this was madness. I mean, I appreciate the fact that she did the checkerboard floor, but oh my God, the amount of work that went into that is just crazy. And that's pretty much the finished one. All right. So for my 3/4s, that's kind of what I'm looking for. I'm looking for you to do something with these skeletons being somewhere, playground. They don't have to look like Leslie's. You definitely have your own style. So I would embrace that style as I work. All right. For my 5/6s, you're essentially doing the skeleton assignment without the skeletons. You're using people, but you're showing those interactions. You're showing the expressions that the skeleton can't. All right. There should be at least 5 skeletons in a scene. One of them can be an animal. You have the option to go more than 5. All right, so if you do more than 5 skeletons, cool. If you want to do a bunch of silhouettes in the background to fill up that crowd scene, cool. If you want to take and make one skeleton super up close and take up like 40% of the paper, cool. You know, that's really kind of one of the things that is a trick of mine, where I'm like, what's important to this image? You know, well, I really want to show this character. Okay, so the background's not that important. If the background's only minimal, I'll draw more of the character. You know, maybe I'll go 60% of the paper is the thing that's the closest up, and then 40% becomes the background. That's why I want to see your pre-sketches for these, so we can have that discussion. All right, cool. If you've got any questions, yell them out, put them in the chat. I'm going to try to get everybody on their attendance.